There's an opportunity here to really do something really big, and it's exactly what we did.
So I know you've been listening to a really incredible conversation between Joz and John Ternus and myself and special guest Mark Spoonauer, and we've been covering this event on TechRadar.com. But make sure that you see the rest of this conversation back on Tom's Guide. So let's talk about the iPhone Pro, iPhone 17 Pro, and iPhone 17 Pro Max, which might be divisive because of the new design. It is a distinctly different look than I've seen on previous iPhones, and I'm kind of curious about the process and who's driving design decisions now. Like, where is this? I think that previously with Apple, we had this sense that Johnny Ive was kind of like drawing every design, and it was all kind of coming out, and maybe it was a partnership, and Tim Cook and previously Steve Jobs were like, yeah, that's the design. But I feel like now we don't entirely, and I can see Jobs was like, you have no idea what you're talking about.
But we're hearing all this stuff.
Well, I guess what I'm wondering is where does that inspiration come from? Like, because this is, such a distinctly new look, and what's the germination of that? Is it purely about function, form following function, or is it truly about a new aesthetic?
Look, we started the whole keynote, yesterday, the film, with the Steve Jobs quote, right? Design is more than how something looks, it's how it works. And we go through a tremendous amount of effort to create an experience for how our products just works. You've heard that for years, in a way that is way beyond what our competitors do, because we have this incredible team of incredible hardware engineers, including our ASIC, our silicon engineers, incredible software engineers, incredible services. We work together on these concepts. We work together on what we're trying to create, because we need to create an integrated experience. This isn't something where John creates something and hands it off to Craig, and then Craig takes it from there. And it's like, this is an integrated experience, because how it works is what's most important to us. That Apple magic you've heard us say for years. And of course, how it works also influences how it looks. Right? How it works is influenced by how it looks. And we're pretty jazzed that these products not only work amazingly well, they look really cool, but that's all part of an integrated experience. It's all part of one influencing the other, because form and function are integral to each other.
Yeah, and I mean, we're very lucky to have the best design team in the world, and it's, we work together from the very beginning. This is not a one side does one thing and then sends it to the other one. For us, it's like from the blank sheet of paper, it's working together, design and hardware and manufacturing and software and HI, like everybody kind of working together to figure out how these products are going to come together. So it's it's always been that way, honestly.
Yeah. And just fair to say then that sort of like sometimes you're like, this is our goal. We really want the phone to do this thing, and you're kind of talking with the design team, and they're like, we can envision this is how that would look to achieve that goal. Is that kind of how?
The goal, I mean, it's kind of, we talk together about what the goal is. It's not like one team goes to another and says, this is the goal, go make it happen. Yeah. Everybody is working together to figure out what that goal is. And as I said before, with, by pushing so hard in one direction with the iPhone Air, it really liberated us to say, let's make these Pro phones like the most Pro phones they can possibly be. And so how do you do that?
But like Tim said, by a lot.
By a lot.
Really, that was the way we looked at it. It wasn't like, how do we make these, a little bit better, these incrementally better. It's like, this gives us a chance. There's an opportunity here to really do something really big, and it's exactly what we did. I mean, the performance of these things is just crazy.
And it's through multiple vectors. It's through performance. It's through cameras. It's through battery life. It's through the overall kind of product and durability. It's all these things to make this the most amazing Pro tool that anybody could want.
But when it comes to materials, I think one of the most interesting things is the choice that you made in this particular case, because it was just 2 generations ago that titanium was the key selling, or one of the key selling points for the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. It was in the commercials, right? But now you've made the switch to an aluminum unibody design. So why the switch, and why was that important?
Well, so we let the the product guide the material with decisions. We try to pick the best possible material for the product and that we're trying to achieve. And in this case, there were two just undeniable, wins for aluminum. One, we wanted to go after performance, and so a big part of performance, and obviously you have to start with incredible silicon, which good news, we have that, right? But to have great, especially sustained performance, you want to have really good and efficient thermal design of the product. And the custom alloy that we use, the aluminum that we use, has 20 times better thermal conductivity than the titanium that we previously used. So it really spreads the heat effectively. So if we wanted to get the most performance out of the phone, that was the right material.
And not feel hot at the skin.
Right.
Exactly. And then the other big advantage with the aluminum, because as you can see, we're bringing in more material for all that conductivity and for that durability. It's a lower density material than titanium. So in the same kind of form factor, it ends up being quite a bit lighter. And then of course you can leverage that lightness, put in some more battery. So it all kind of builds, one thing builds off of another, but fundamentally there was no question that aluminum was the right material for this.
Without a doubt. And then the icing on the cake is it allowed us to anodize it. Right?
Yeah,
So a lot
and
of
then it
us
looks
do
like
fun
that.
colors. Look, for years we've had pro customers say, hey, how come the other part of the line gets all the fun colors, and we don't? And it's like, okay, you want a fun color? How about cosmic orange, baby? And
You can make the case
know.
that like the pros now are like the fun phones, right?
They're all fun.
They're all fun. Yeah. I mean, it does lead perfectly into the next question, which is kind of like we're dropping one premium color, which is black, which a lot of people consider, that's the premium. So how did orange become the new black? And I'm going to be honest with you. I never thought I liked orange, but I'm going to admit, I kind of like that orange. So I'm just curious.
I'll be a teaser. That's what I'm carrying.
Like, how did that decision happen? And was there any concern about dropping a color that some people might say, well, that's what I want to show I'm carrying premium?
We've had different shades of dark for years, right? We know people want it dark, right? And we got deep blue. It's gorgeous, right? So before you get hung up on the fact it's not black, it's like, it's gorgeous, right? And so people who want a dark color, the deep blue is fantastic. For people who love that classic silver, which we know there's a group that likes that. We have classic silver. And for people who want a fun color, we got cosmic orange. So we think we've got the bases covered there, and we feel really good about that. And as John talked about, look, we got the best design people on the planet. They're really good at this, right? They showed us these, and we're like, yeah, that's awesome.
So what about, just going back to the performance real quick, I think with the A19 Pro, paired with the vapor chamber cooling, obviously you're not the first to do so-called vapor chamber cooling, but I feel like your approach is different than what's been tried before based on how you guys explained it during the keynote. So maybe just talk about that a little bit, because I think you're claiming 40% better sustained performance versus just the iPhone 16 Pro, just like one generation ago. So how does that work? How did you make that happen?
Yeah, so I think if you think about, like I said before, you think about performance, it starts with the SoC. And of course, if you can push on efficiency, that's always going to benefit, and we have incredible efficiency. But then as you put power into the part and you're doing a heavy workload, maybe it's a game, maybe it's Apple Intelligence, maybe it's camera work, you start to generate heat. And you need to kind of extract that heat from the SoC. And so the more you can spread it across the device, it's different. If you think about a Mac, you might have a fan and you can blow hot air out. When you're thinking about a phone, it's all about how efficiently you can spread it. And so what a vapor chamber does is it allows us to, effectively there's this deionized water inside that effectively boils and spreads across and then condenses and wicks back. And so it's just constantly transferring heat. But what we did is we actually integrated that into the aluminum chassis so that it's spreading not just through the vapor chamber, but then through the aluminum housing itself. And because we can conduct that heat so effectively across the product, it, one, allows us to run at, at that sustained performance for longer, also just brings down the overall temperature of the device. So for a given power level, you end up with lower temperatures.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
It's cool. You had to say it. It's quite cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
You caught the pun.
Let's talk a little bit about the camera array. And I'm particularly interested in sort of the zoom side of it. I'm wondering if your periscope technology differs in any fundamental way from some of your competitors, which are using similar technologies. I'm also kind of curious that I know that we have obviously far more megapixels. We're going from, I think it was 12 to 48 megapixels, but you did have a 5x optical zoom, and so there's something in the optics there. Now you're at 4x, which you can, of course, crop in optically to 8x. But I'm just, if you can explain.
It's more than a crop. right? Because
Well, sensor crop.
Yeah, each have their exactly because each have their own separate pipeline.
Right.
It's a disservice to call it a crop because it's way more than that. And to your point, we had 5x at 12. We now have 8x at 12, and now you have 4x at 48. It gave us incredible opportunities to do something that is dramatically better. Look, cameras are a big investment area for us because they're important to our customers. And we have taken our camera technology, every time you think, how does it get any better? Our camera guys blow us away on how they're going to make it better. And that's everything from the photos themselves, stills, which are absolutely incredible. And again, the work that gets done, everything from the silicon, right, to the hardware side, to the software side, all of that is done in an integrated way that we think we take incredible pictures. Video, quite honestly, we don't look at other smartphones as our competition, right? They haven't been for years. Our competition are high-end pro cameras. And that's why what you see here, and we've talked about it, I mentioned it in my part of the film. We shoot our events with iPhones. And this is the first year that we shot it with the current the iPhone that we're about to introduce. Because remember, they're technically not done at the time we're filming these, but there were so many advantages to using the iPhone 17 Pro to take this, to shoot this, and you see the results are amazing. And again, I don't think there's any other smartphone that could come close to what we're doing there. And then don't forget, flip around to the front. That center stage camera is beyond what anybody's got, right? This ability to take, even save you the convenience, right, of whether you want to hold it. Always, people just want to hold their phones in portrait, we know that. But sometimes you want to have that landscape selfie. Maybe it's of you in the landscape, maybe it's you and your friends. Well, we use AI to actually even expand the image automatically and allow you to stay in portrait. But on top of that, it's a phenomenal photo, right? And it's so important because 500 billion selfies taken on iPhones every year. It's just crazy. It's important to our customers.
Just
Anyway,
that's fine. One quick follow-up there, since you mentioned it.
Yeah.
Is there one single thing you could point out that was the reason you got a particular advantage from the new iPhone 17 Pro Max that you wanted to use it to shoot that video? Because you said there's so many advantages.
There's a number of them, right? One, we talked about the thermals. The thermals, actually, it's a huge advantage. Right, we shoot for a while, and so a huge advantage having a better thermal system. The other, which is a really crazy cool feature, which we showed in the keynote, is Gen Lock. Right, Gen Lock when you're shooting professional video is a huge thing. But we made the first jump in what we could really do there with the 15 Pro, right? Because the 15 Pro is what allowed us to start being able to do really incredible color grading after after we'd shot, ACES support, ProLog support. We could do some stuff that we just couldn't do with previous iPhones. And then again, each time taking it a step up, but this is a big step up, right?
And now that we know it after the fact, I was also impressed with a lot of those shots on location were in low light at night.
Yeah, totally.
So in retrospect, you might think there would be noise but there wasn't.
No, it's really incredible.
I think going back to the center stage, just a point I wanted to make on that one, because that's something I think we're all just really excited about, is, a lot of times people are just pushing to make cameras better. It's like, well, we'll add more megapixels, that's the main thing. And I think this was an opportunity to think about, and this is what the team did, how can we just make the experience of taking pictures better, right? And how can we make the selfie experience better? And that only happens when you have kind of hardware, software, and design all working together. And sure, it starts with this square sensor, which is an awesome sensor, but then creating this interface so that it's super easy to hold that phone in portrait and either have it automatically switch to landscape, or you can quick flip it over to landscape. I think it's really cool. People are going to love that.
Yeah, and I think you got a sense of the reaction from the keynote.
We love that. We love the fact that, for those who don't know in your audience, right, we do these films, but we do have a group of press and influencers that are in the crowd to watch it with us here at the Steve Jobs Theater, and we love getting the live reactions.
There's audible oohs and ahs.
There's a lot of oohs and ahs. This is a tough audience, right? It's you guys, right? And the oohs and ahs and applause that we got over certain things, it's like we're never quite sure. We work really hard on these products. We work really hard on these videos as to what's going to get attention, and certainly that center stage camera got a pretty rousing set of applause for people who immediately got it. That's cool.
I had a somewhat philosophical question in terms of like the zoom, for example. So you go, like the Pro and the Pro Max go up to 40x. Some competing phones go up to 100x, but in order to get there and create a photo, in some cases they're using AI to generate that picture. What do you guys think of that? Do you even not even like the idea of like, is it even a photo at that point? Like, what's your?
I mean,
what's your take?
that's always the rub, right? I love, John McCormick. He's one of our senior camera engineers. He had a quote that last year, I think he said, we believe that a photo is a celebration of something that really happened. It really just sticks with me. So we got to be careful. Look, we use AI for a lot. And we use computational photography for a lot. You guys remember, we've talked about it. There's like literally over a billion operations that happen to take a photo. But we do like it to be real. I think you remember there was competitors, they painted moons into the scene, and so, so yeah, there's places to use it. We use it. Again, computational photography, we use it. We do want it to be real.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and so you're going digital when you do a digital zoom, but you're not digitally enhancing the image to take it to some place that it isn't.
We're not creating content that we didn't otherwise know was there, right?
So just finally and quickly, how do you think the A19 Pro prepares us for what's coming with the full-blown Apple Intelligence Siri that you guys have been talking about?
Well, look, let me just step back. We talked quite a bit in Tim Malay's section, the Apple Silicon section, about what we're doing to continuously raise the bar on our ability to do AI compute. And the thing that he talked about is now we have neural accelerators built into each GPU core. So our ability to compute AI, whether it's Apple Intelligence or whether, again, it's somebody else's model running on the device, again, is beyond compare. And that's something that we have not just in our iPhones, by the way. As you know, Macs are capable of running models natively that just can't be run on PCs. And so this is something that is an investment that started with us with the first neural engine. Surprise, the industry now calls theirs neural processing units. Shocking, similar name. But that started for us, 2017. That started years ago. So we continue to invest in this area, and it's important. And we'll continue that investment.
Okay. All right, well, thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure. And don't forget, by the way, if you want the full conversation, start on Tom's Guide, then come over to TechRadar. This has been a great chat about all your new devices. Congratulations.
Thank you. I was waiting for part 3 on the John Ternus podcast.
I got to get on that.
Yeah.
You invite us, we will be there.
Yeah. Thanks. No, seriously, great questions, guys.
Yeah, thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
it. Such an exciting week for us. People are just really enthused by these products, and that makes us very happy. So thanks.
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Thank you.